you said you sold your cleaning business. Can you
Yep.
tell us some details on that?
Yeah. So I can't tell you guys what I sold it for because I have an
Sure.
NDA with that. But actually, the guy who bought the company came from my mastermind. So it was super cool because I was actually teaching him how to build his company. He was in the next town over. And he was like, I want to move to State College, but like I kind of need a reason to. And I told him that I was thinking about selling it. And at that point, he had already been working. He worked in my company a couple times. Like he'd be like, hey, can I just hang out with your team and like see how you guys do things to help my business run better? So he already had like a pretty good understanding of our operation and all of that.
Sure.
Then when the time came, I was like, you know what? I want to sell this. I think it's right. He was like, I'll buy it. And then that's what happened. I seller financed it to him.
I was about to ask. Yeah. So seller finance, but you didn't have to hang around. You had enough systems and processes in place so that he could plug and play. Yeah. And you didn't have to be the general manager because you had your position filled as general manager.
Yes. The general manager, actually, one of the reasons why I decided to sell the company was because the general manager wasn't performing. So that's the reason I went up and visited in person. I actually had to let him go. And then I basically was forced with the decision, do I want to find another general manager and, train and replace that role? Or do I want to find someone who wants to buy the company, recoup the general manager's salary and run the company as if they're the general manager and the owner? And that's what this person wanted to do. So it just worked out really well.
Do you mind disclosing what your gross revenue was at your best year?
Yeah, it was 600,000.
Yeah.
And then
profit margins, but you had overhead now at this point with your staff.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were netting like 20-25%. And that was after, I took a salary and bonuses and all that kind of stuff. So it worked out. And then as far as selling the company, what I did was we did an asset sale, which if you guys are looking to buy a company, that's a really good way to do it because then they don't take on any of the risk of any of my liabilities. And it's just a cleaner sale. And then essentially what I did was I pulled all the available cash out of the business. And that was sort of my down payment. And then he essentially bought all the assets, which was the customer list, the trade name, the blue sky, as we call it, all the vehicles. There were a few that had liens on them that were then titled in his name, and then all the equity in the assets of the company. And the interesting thing is, so it's almost June now, and I sold it in September, and all the employees that were with me are still there with him now.
Dude, that's impressive, man.
Yeah.
That speaks a lot about what you had already running and the fact that he was able to come in and still keep the same culture.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So talk to me about the vehicles that you had the liens on it. Did you have to go to the banks and transfer the name, or did he just take over the note and y'all had a contract sitting in the background?
Second one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always wondered what you did with the debt in a business when you sold it.
It's hard because two of the vehicles were through Ford Credit at 0% financing too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
why would you get rid of that?
Yeah, we could transfer it over and you have to pay interest and we'll have to go through all this legwork. Well, he ended up selling one of the vehicles. So that was cool. The one that had an interest rate on it. And then he ended up inheriting his dad's truck. So then he was like, I don't need this other truck. So now we only have one truck that has a lien on it. And it's got like $10,000 left. So it's no big deal.
That's awesome. All right. So you've got over into Hilton Head now. You're starting your moving company.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience, because now you've got a track record. You got a little bit of experience. How rough was it when you started that one?
Yeah. So like I can tell you guys, like once you learn how to do these things, like the next one is like it's almost like a breeze, to be honest with you. Yeah. And that's kind of the point around like, so you've hired coaches, I've hired coaches. Like that's why it's so important, is because the compound effect, like not only are you learning how to build it in your current operating company, but it applies to every business that you have going forward. So I would say like make the upfront investment as soon as you can because you're acquiring skills. And so basically what happened was I was looking to move and I was getting quotes, and there was these two people that were working for a moving company, and they started asking me questions why I was moving and this and that. And I told them what I did, and they were like, I was moving from a different house. We rented the house in Bluffton, and that was coming up on a 1-year lease. And so we had to move to a new place. And they're like, well, we work for a moving company. Like your story's like really interesting. Like we've been thinking about starting our own. And I was like, well, here's like my free Facebook group. Check it out. There's tons of content in there. I gave them access to my course for free for, the move and stuff. But then they were like, dude, you want to just like go in on this moving company together? Like, will you be a partner with us? And so we literally put $5,000 together. I actually contributed no money to the company. They both brought 5,000 combined. I was a minority partner, and we did the first 14 months. We started in November. So we did November, December, and then a full 12 months after that, we did like almost 500,000 in sales.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what did you have to buy to get that company started?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Like, I shouldn't say nothing, but like,
you got a truck, right? You had to have a box truck?
We rented U-Hauls, bro.
Dude.
So we rented U-Hauls. We bought like 2 toolboxes and like some boxes, and like whenever we'd get a job, we'd go to like Home Depot and just like buy the moving supplies that we needed. We get a deposit, and we just cash flowed everything. And that company ended up making like almost 100,000 in net profit that year. And that was after we all took distributions and all that. So then ended up buying a moving truck with those profits.
All right. So in my cleaning, we also warped into a disaster cleanup company and with water, fire, and mold. And so when we have to pack out a house, is what they call it, move a house out, because we've got to address the structure, then all different types of things come up, because when they get their furniture back, it's like, hey, that wasn't broken. I got a scratch here, something like that. Did you get complaints like that? And if so, how did you handle it?
Yeah. So like, I mean, I didn't really have moving company experience. Like 2 people that helped start the company, they had done a lot more moves. So we would just sit down like once a week and be like, okay, what are the problems we're experiencing on jobs? Like, oh, when we get to a job, the customer said that this wasn't broken, but like it already was. And I'm like, all right, we need a better system to document this stuff. So then it was just like you dial your process in. And then we found that like the more work that we could do up front, the less work that we'd have to do on the back end. So we made our sales process and our quoting process and our scheduling process. And, you know, before we'd show up to the job, we made training videos on all this. We essentially trained our customer. So like, if they were packing the boxes, we would send them videos on how to pack boxes the right way. Like if we were, I mean, literally everything, we would just set all the standards, and we'd like kind of make them go through this training.
So my daughter she's coming for the summer. She's working. She's 15. She's going to be getting her license. And she wanted a car. So I was like, bet, I'll get you a car, but you're going to have to work, because I'll cover the car payment. I'll cover the insurance, but somebody's got to pay for the gas, and I'm not going to cover the gas, because this is a part of adulthood. If you want that freedom, let's train you what real adulthood is. So I told her one of the duties she's going to do this summer is follow my crew with the iPhone, film them. So now we've got a better onboarding and training process instead of just SOPs. So I love the fact that not only did you train your employees, you also trained your customers how to be prepped to make your job easier. That's very, very smart.
Yeah, thanks. And same thing with our team leaders. Like the first thing that they would have to do is go through, and they would have to document things before we even started. They would talk to the customer, all that kind of stuff.